Certain professionals, academics have always thought this was a rather false argument because the internal market has not been created to allow citizens from one member state to move to another in order to profit from facilities in the domain of social security, whatever. It's an economic concept. So you are allowed to travel from one member state to another when you can be of some use for that host country. You have to pay taxes, and as a counterpart you receive social security, medical aid, whatever, in case of need. So my understanding has always been Britain should not allow the access of people who would like to abuse their stay because of access to all kinds of facilities, because that is not what the internal market has been created for. So these Romanians, Bulgarians, Poles, or wherever they came from, even Dutch people, they went there because apparently there was a need in the labor market in the English society. However, their problem essentially probably is in numbers. So they had to receive quite a number of people in order to fill certain gaps on the labor market, which English people, Scottish, Northern Irish people, were not able to fulfill. Now, certainly, obviously, the idea that a member state is withdrawn from the European Union has created the discussion, is that a precedent for others who would like perhaps eventually to do the same? And of course that has been feeded by the discussion of migration, the economic crisis, which for very bad reasons, the migration crisis and economic, have been blamed to the European Union, which is of course an argument at odds, because there is not a concrete linkage. It's always the member states who perhaps were not really very effective in implementing their obligations, which they have accepted at the EU framework. But it was, I think, something more like that. Now, after a while, since the United Kingdom voted in favor of a withdrawal, June 2016, it has taken them a year, nearly a year, or even more, to open up the negotiations and to present a position what they would like to have as an alternative. It is not that easy. First of all, if you want to leave your tennis club, your football club, you have to make certain arrangements in the financial domain, and of course you have to withdraw from the facilities. So if you are engaged in the management of the tennis club, you have to withdraw from that and so on. That's what we refer as the divorce agreement. Essentially, it's a financial issue, but in the second place, there is a very relevant aspect related to what will be the situation of EU citizens living in the United Kingdom, and vice versa, what's the situation of British citizens living at the European continent. It's a complicated issue, certainly. The third thing in this series of the divorce negotiations is related to the border between Northern Ireland and Ireland, because there, if you want it or not, we have to create an external border. However, that's of course contrary to the idea of Great Britain, the British Empire. They practice free trade, they practice even free movement of persons. So there we have to find a solution which will not be very easy. That is the set of issues which has to be dealt with within that period of 2 years. But obviously it would be wise, and that's also the intention of the treaty text, although it's a very simple text with not many details, that we have, the moment we conclude that divorce agreement, that we have a clue about what will be the outcome of the discussion. Then we have to start the second stage of the negotiations, and they are related to what will be the future framework of cooperation between the European Union 27 plus the United Kingdom. There we of course first wait for what they would like to have as an alternative. But if you take a look in the toolbox we have available, there is of course in the first place the status countries like Norway, Switzerland and Liechtenstein have. However, they participate in the internal markets, the whole internal market plus competition policy. That's something which at least Mrs. May doesn't want the UK to do. So that's out. Then there is the next best option, which might be an arrangement like we have concluded with Canada, CETA. It's free trade plus something more. There is, of course, the customs union concept, but that implies also common customs duties at the external borders. That's something which Mrs. May also does not want to achieve. So then you end up with really low level kind of arrangements which are very close to arrangement of free trade, which are in the making with a country like Ukraine. Could eventually be a modality for cooperation between the European Union, Russian Federation, or the Eurasian Economic Union, but not much more than that. And then I must personally say, as a consequence, is that to be preferred over the status which you have now. So, but that's of course up to the UK government and citizens to take decisions about. So there are models available, but in the first place it's important to note what would they like to achieve, what would they like to have as a result of these negotiations. As a former the British Empire, the idea of sovereignty, so they felt that they were too much guided by foreign forces, bureaucracy in Brussels not being directly elected, etc., etc. But I think in the end they might come to the conclusion that even if they will leave the European Union, they will not be that sovereign as they would think they would like to be, because in the global world where we are living in, we are tied to each other, whether it's climate change, migration, and combat of terrorism, for example. So they are already looking after possibility to remain connected, to combat or to face and to encounter these global challenges. So I think in the end it's a mistake, but okay, it's an outcome of a referendum. By the way, it was accepted by 51% and still a little bit. So it was not a very huge majority, but okay, it's the outcome, it's their decision. So we have to try to find suitable arrangements with them.